What's going on, everybody? LK here, back at it again with another video, and today we are back on Dragon Ball FighterZ. So if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that we mostly talk about like intermediate level things, or I try to do stuff that like takes people who have a little experience in the game and walk them into more advanced concepts. But I actually want to start doing a couple of actual beginner videos for a couple of reasons. One, very often I see comments where there are people who are like, I really actually like what you're doing and I watch all the videos, but I don't know any of the terminology and I have no idea what you're talking about. And two, for people who are new to the channel, they can have a point to where they can catch up to everyone else. So yesterday I played through the entire FighterZ Dojo, which I didn't even know they added into the game until like a week ago, and the tips in the FighterZ Dojo are actually pretty good. So if you haven't played the FighterZ Dojo, you should. And what this video is going to do is this video will introduce more concepts that are related to the FighterZ Dojo. Now, if you are a more intermediate player, you could use this video as a kind of like checklist to see where you're at. So if you know everything in this video, great. If you're missing something, then it'd be like that sometimes, but it's okay. And if you don't know anything, then cool, now you just learned a bunch of stuff. So this will be the first in a series, a short series of beginner videos for Dragon Ball FighterZ, and I will also do them for other games I'm playing. So probably in the near future it would be Guilty Gear and Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. If you like the content I am putting out, please like this video or subscribe to the channel, or do both. It will definitely help the channel grow. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, so if you don't know, this is the FighterZ Dojo. I think they added this in Season 3. This is like an expansion of the tutorial in the game. So I'm pretty sure Goku will tell you the basic tutorial that you can access via the training mode. But 21 will teach you about Super Dash stuff, and Krillin teaches you about assist, Piccolo teaches you about defense, which is funny because he used to be an unblockable character. But all these characters give you a little bit more about how to play the game, and it's pretty helpful actually. I played through it. It didn't take that long for me to finish it, but of course, you know, like, I played this game pretty hard body. Even with this though, there's still more that you can learn. So again, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you know everything I'm about to talk about, then cool. That means you're just like caught up, you know what's going on. If you don't, then this video is definitely for you. First, we'll talk about Super Dash. So the Super Dash tutorial tells you, one, about Super Dash, using things like Super Dash Assist, some of the rock, paper, scissors mini games around Super Dash. So for example, doing something like this, which can be countered like this, but the opponent can backdash. Just all these type of games that you can play. There's some character specific things too, where some characters with bigger jabs can really protect themselves well with their jabs after blocking Super Dash. But one thing they didn't talk about is the Airborne Super-Defense. So what do I mean? So what happens when you are jumping, or your opponent is jumping, and the other person Super Dashes at you? So when you Super Dash at an airborne opponent, you are at an advantage, but it's not enough to actually outright guarantee your turn, because you're going to bounce off them like this. So similarly to the ground, you have options. You can backdash in the air, you can air dash forward. You do actually have an advantage, but also generally characters' fastest normals are also 6 frames in the air. So for example, a character can counter by doing something like jab or something like that. Now, one tip is that some characters have really fast, large special moves that they could do here, and they'll either just reach you outright, or they will really, really destroy you if you try to force your turn on them. SSJ Goku is actually a classic one. You cannot beat that. The best thing you could do is retreat, and it's definitely a pretty favorable situation for SSJ Goku because he doesn't have to do that, and it makes his defensive choices there, like running away or just falling, much, much stronger. Again, this is a character-specific thing, so you have to check by character. So for example, like a character like Base Vegeta doesn't really have anything unique in this situation, but Team Gohan is another example of a character that has a very fast move like this. Alright, so next is assist. So the FighterZ Dojo, they talk about using assist after Gatlings, using assist after things like overhead and stuff like that, special moves, things like that. One thing they don't talk about is different ways you can call assist. They kind of touch on it with defensive assist calls, but one thing about this game compared to most versus games is that you can call assist from super jump height. So the only other versus game I have any slight amount of experience with is Marvel vs. Capcom, and you cannot do that in those games generally, right? But you can in this game. So what does that mean? That means you can call assists off screen. The screen will trail upwards when you jump like that, right? This is one of the original things that's really good about Yamcha. You can combine this off-screen aspect with defensive assist calls to protect your landing. Okay, so let's say I'm base Vegeta, you know, I kind of pushed myself out, I'm watching you. Team Gohan jumps. Team Gohan is not actually that good at moving in the air. Like, of course he has super jump float and all that, but he doesn't have moves like base Vegeta's rocket kick or Bardock's lariat to move around in the air. Since I have Yamcha, who's an especially fast assist rate, it's 19 frames, combining the defensive assist call plus off-screen assist call calls for a really, really strong option that's really, really easy to hit confirm and keeps you pretty safe. Like, they can chase you up there, like Super Dash or any other type of anti-air or something like that, but you're blocking. So at best, you get your turn or like a combo of some sort, and at worst, you're blocking, but Yamcha's doing stuff is generally in your favor, and it's one of the really good things about playing any of the DP assists like Ultra Instinct Goku, Teen Gohan, Adult Gohan, or really fast ground assists like Yamcha. So next is defense. So they talk about a lot of things like Vanish being a cross-up, some moves appear behind and you have to block the other way. Overheads are generally slower than lows, especially on the ground like that. But what if you're put into a situation where you don't know whether or not they're going to go high or low? How would you defend that? Especially if they're both like kind of fast. There's actually a technique we use to deal with this. It's called option select guard. You might hear it called fuzzy guard or fuzzy defense as well. I'm trying to get rid of that though. Now, the idea is that when you don't know which way to block, you choose both by blocking one way, then blocking the other way, and then switching back. And you can actually confirm when to do this. So let's try building a recording to show a basic example. One we'll set to do this, and the other, let's set it to do this. So if we use my inputs on the left here, you can see that I will try to defend both with decent amount of success. In this case, actually, they literally don't hit at the same time. This is why we value the 50-50 mix-up so much, because it's really actually pretty difficult to make things hit at the same time in this game. It's done this way on purpose. I'll do a couple more goes here. So you can see that I'm starting by blocking low, and I'll switch high, and I go back to low. As you play the game, you'll see examples of this coming up. A lot of the things that people do to try to open you up aren't like truly actual 50-50 mix-ups. They're usually like either really hard to react to things or like things designed to trick your eyes. So once you get used to seeing these kind of setups, and the cue is usually like buttons, some move, call and assist, and then they'll go for whatever it is. Once you get used to seeing it, you'll be able to implement this technique with a decent amount of success. So last, let's talk about defense again. So the last training partner you have in the dojo talks about basically how to mash, and also things about like combos like blue beat, special cancels, and then how to set up offense. So I kind of want to flip that around and talk about a specific thing that a lot of people ask about defense, which is how do you know when to press buttons and when to take your turn? Now, there's a couple of things you have to understand here. So first is the nature of the game and the nature of games like this. So we call this like taking turns, almost like an RPG, right? So here, when GT Goku is, you know, doing this thing, it's his turn, right? Like there's not that much you can do. When you're in Block Sun, the only Block Sun actions you have are Reflect from certain states, like after blocking Ki Blast, and Guard Cancels and Spark, and that's basically it. But at the same time, most of the things that characters do are not that scary by themselves, right? So a character like GT Goku, despite being, you know, a great friend, long-term friend, right? When he's attacking you by himself, even at his strongest in Season 2, by himself, he's not super duper scary. Like, what does he have, right? So he has, of course, these buttons. He's got 6M like everyone else. He's got Dragon Rush like everyone else. He does have Pogo. He does have this J2H, right? That makes him plus, right? So out of the things that he has pretty much 2 unique things that make him scary, but both of them require him to take a pretty big risk. So at a base, let's use a more standard character like Teen Gohan. So Teen Gohan has a couple of unique things, but he's basically has the main standard toolset for offense, right? Now, here I have 2 assists. So while I'm rushing you down, if you're choosing to just block, let's just get rid of guard cancel and all the other options. If you're choosing to just block, he has 2 assists to work with. In this game, once the assists are gone, he has to basically peel off or leave a really huge gap to get the assist back. It's not easy to get assist back anymore. So assuming I burn these 2 and I don't have assists anymore, now if you look at his moves, this is minus, this is minus, this is minus, this is minus, this is minus. All the moves he has are negative. All the normals generally are negative, but you can cancel, delay, cancel, etc. So one of the really good ways you can tell when an opponent's turn is over, one is the longer they go on into their chain, the less ways they usually have of resetting their pressure. So for example, mashing after jabs is pretty risky because they have their entire moveset still. So they still have like medium, they still have heavy, they still have ki blast, they still have everything. As opposed to if you block a heavy move, there's really not that much else they could do. All they could do is special cancel or ki blast. Once you block a ki blast, it's generally an immediate guessing game, and here's a place where you could take your turn. Here's a place where many players also choose to take their turn, and it makes sense because it's a negative move, 1. 2, you generally don't have a lot of options, but most people will do a heavy after, a delayed heavy to stop you from like mashing or doing like a block stun super dash or something like that, but you have reflect. So this is a place where you could choose to mash, block, or reflect generally. So let's go back to GT Goku. There are some characters who are able to make themselves airborne, right? GT Goku's example, he's got the orb, he's got Pogo, he's got this, his core circle back S. He's got a couple of ways to make himself airborne. Characters who can make themselves airborne are much better at taking their turns back than characters who can't, because they have air options. So despite them being negative, they get access to moving around and stuff, and you are on the ground. But at the same time, you can do something, and you could choose to escape or like super jump, or you could try to chase them, or you could try to use a movement option like in my case it would be like rocket kick. You could choose to do a lot of things because they are directly off you and they are generally minus in the first place. So this move, for example, it's -5, but he has air options like that. So there is one more place that you can take your turn. It's after like system mechanics like Vanish and 6M. So the FighterZ Dojo actually talks about 6M, Clash, but they don't really talk about Vanish. So Vanish is plus, but it doesn't mean that you can't take your turn. It's a defined situation that comes up against a lot of characters, basically all characters, where you, even though they have a slight advantage, you can directly interact because they can't cancel the Vanish into anything. They have to just do something with the frames. So in the case of Vanish, you have things like backstep that you can do. If you have a frame 4 reversal, you can challenge with it. If you have an invincible move like a DP or level 3, you could do that as well. Obviously there's different levels of risk applied to it, but it's a direct guessing game and you can choose to challenge. Alright, hopefully all that stuff helped. Again, if you know all of this, then you're in a good spot so far, and you're in a good spot for basically all the videos on my channel. If there's stuff you didn't know, then cool, great, you learned something. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.